This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. My friend Jake Garry, how are you, man?
I'm good, Kevin. It's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you too. Before we started recording, we were talking about you and the Drops of Life team hitting the event scene really hard, coming up with the different hemp shows that are happening. And when you say it's good to see, I was thinking the last time we saw each other was at Lucky Leaf and at New Bloom Labs happy hour the night before in Irving. So that was a good event, man.
It was cool because you and me had been communicating for a long time and we hadn't even met face to face yet, even though we come from the same circle. And it was cool. I walked outside and I was like, oh my God, that's Kevin. And, it was so organic and it was just cool to catch up with you and, to hear about everything that you're doing and being that we're both from New Mexico and now we're Texas boys. Well, I've always been a Texas boy, kind of, a little bit of both, but
Sure.
it was just really cool to connect, man, because, we do have a background and, the Lucky Leaf scene is where we go to network. And I was totally glad to run into you there, man.
It was good. Yeah. And it shows like how tight knit the hemp community is, especially within Texas, right? Like
Absolutely.
as you mentioned, I mean, we were talking before, we hadn't even met yet. We knew each other through inner circles and it's good. And you know what's been impressive, Jake, is how fast you and the Drops of Life team have really emerged onto the scene. I mean, and it's not surprising because I can see the hard work that you're putting into the company. So, tell us about like your background so that for the audience to get to know you personally and why you're passionate about the hemp industry.
Well, I appreciate that, Kevin. Well, first and foremost, man, when it comes to Drops of Life, the success, I got to give it all to my team. I mean, I have an amazing team around me. We have people focusing on things that are way smarter than I am, on areas that, that I quite don't understand of the industry. So for first and foremost, I have to give, all the success to the team. We have great people that are actually passionate about our product and what we're doing. And when you combine that with hard work and, good leadership that we have in every aspect, I think that's a secret to our success right now. A little bit about my background and the reason why I'm in CBD. So I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was born in Texas. So I was born and raised in Texas, but I did go to high school out in Albuquerque. And out in Albuquerque is where I found my love for cannabis. I had severe ADD and ADHD in high school, and it was bad. And so when I started using cannabis a little bit, I wasn't using it as a medicine, but it completely turned into that aspect. Now, I was a kid, not really knowing what.
Jake, real quick, I'm curious, when you had ADHD and all that going through high school, were you prescribed anything else before trying cannabis?
Oh yeah. They were trying to give me Ritalin since I was 5 years old, but my mom would never let me take it. My mom never let me take anything that she thought would suppress me. And so she's a reflexologist. So she always went the natural herbal route on everything. And when she noticed that I was using cannabis, I wasn't getting as much in trouble for it because she saw a difference in my schoolwork and my attitude. It just slowed down my
Wow.
mind, you know?
Wow.
And
It,
so it was cool.
it's interesting because like it seems like I've said this before, like our generation was part of that cycle of like, oh, the kid doesn't remember what he read, so prescribe him Adderall or Ritalin, and then from there it went to Adderall, and then from there it's Vyvanse or whatever it is, and you start to depend on this medication, where cannabis could be an alternative, or other different things could be alternatives outside of that,
A
so
100%. And that's honestly a reason that's tied me to the CBD industry, is because I feel that a lot of the healing components in cannabis are within the CBD and the rare cannabinoids. Don't get me wrong, there is extreme value with THC, 100%. But what I saw, the last couple of years, and another big reason why I did get into the industry is I had a cousin whose son had probably around 30 to 50 seizures a day, and they started giving him Charlotte's Web, and it immediately helped him. I mean, they saw
wow.
they saw a complete difference in his schoolwork. He stopped having multiple seizures. He didn't have to take as much medication. And you will get into my background in Albuquerque, but I come from a group that does medical marijuana in Albuquerque, and so I always
That's
knew the healing.
Elevate, right?
That's elevated, and we'll get into that circle
Elevated
because
RX, that's right, yeah.
that's right. That's right. That's both of our families actually. So,
Right.
um, but I just really, I always knew the medical benefit. My business partner in Drops of Life is Orlando Watts, and he's always educated me. He's always been very predominant figure in the medical marijuana field.
Shout
But I
out to
saw,
Orlando.
shout out to Orlando Watts, man. He is my mentor, my brother, my best friend, my business partner, and we do all of this together. He has taught me majority of all of my knowledge about cannabis and the healing benefits and what it could do. And Drops, he's the other owner of Drops of Life, and without him and Todd, there's no way this would be possible. So about 2 years ago, I saw a loophole and a benefit with the hemp farm bill, and I said, you know what, this is the time to do this. This is the time to react. It's not big in Texas yet. And so I went to Orlando, told him what I wanted to do. We started working on a game plan. And then I was actually working for a branch of gyms in Texas, called Freedom Fitness. And one day I went to the owner and I gave him a bottle of CBD that I brought from Elevated, you know, and he absolutely fell in love with it. He had never taken CBD before. He'd never tried cannabis. He didn't know what it was. And he works out a lot. He's a very hard worker. He runs multiple businesses. He's a great dad. And he saw that the CBD was helping him sleep and helping him with inflammation and a lot of other things. He absolutely fell in love with it. And that was about a year ago. And so honestly, Drops of Life has only been a company for about a year.
That's
So
what's crazy to think about, because like I said, you guys have been at all the events. I mean, you're winning awards. I just saw at the recent Sweet Sensi Hemp Festival, you guys won Best Edible. So yeah, it's pretty amazing how much traction you guys have made in such a short period of time.
I appreciate that, because we started this thing about a year ago exactly. And we didn't even start selling product until about, I'd say, March of this year. We didn't open our website. Our website wasn't active until May. And so I wanted to work on branding, get our name out there. We started with the Taste of Texas Hemp Cup. And, we kind of just made friends in the industry and took it from there. I'm very close with Aaron from Tejas Hemp and Eddie from Oak Cliff. And shout out to Sweet Sensi, my boy Clay and Greg. And, we just kind of built a community with each other and what we're trying to achieve. And we're all working with each other, and we've all been able to help each other kind of work towards our goal and what we're trying to achieve. So like I said, I have to give the success to my team. I have to give the success to the people around me, and I'm just humbled and fortunate to be here, man. I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Yeah. No, I mean that's great of you to acknowledge the others that are playing a part in this effort, because it's definitely not a one man or one woman type effort, right? I mean, there's so much complexity that goes into it with all the regulation and red tape, and of course the federal prohibition, and us being in Texas is not easy. And so, I guess that's a good segue. So like since you've been in it for a year and you guys have really pushed forward to kind of be one of the top brands that people are talking about throughout the state, what does the Texas hemp landscape look like right now? I mean, let's first start with the elephant in the room, and that's Delta 8. I mean, I don't even know. I can't keep up with the headlines. Is it illegal? Is it not? Is it banned? Like where and how is that affecting your business?
Well, there's an injunction on D8. So there's a bunch of court litigations going on and a bunch of lawsuits. I'm in the Texas Hemp Coalition. I'm one of the executive board members, and we actually had a call about it today. And the thing is about D8 is, if you want to make it illegal, that's totally fine, but you have to go about the right way to do it. And the state did not go about the right way, which is why there's an injunction right now, and people are actually allowed to sell D8 while that injunction is in place.
Gotcha.
So that's the thing, man, is it changes every day. There's multiple lawsuits. It's I don't want to get too much into it and get a
Sure.
bad reputation with
No, no,
DSHS or
yeah.
anything, but the state just didn't go about it the right way. And if they want to ban D8, then they're going to have to do it through the legislative committee, and that's just how it goes. So right now, as of today, D8 is legal in the state of Texas. For me, how it affects my business, honestly, it really doesn't, because I have never focused on D8. I don't have anything against it, but I honestly don't support it in a lot of ways either. I got into the CBD industry, and with the demand of D8, all that shows me is that majority of Texans want to get high, because that's what D8 does. Let's
Yep.
talk about the elephant in the room. D8 gets you high.
Right. No, you're absolutely, and
So
I've said that. It's like it only just further reinforces that there's a huge appetite for people to want to get high, and they like the
absolutely.
psychoactive properties of it, which is fine. But I respect the stance you took and how you went, like, on the CBD route, and you stuck to it, because there's so many Texas hemp businesses that I've talked to that had to pivot because the demand for D8 was there. It was so high. And in some ways, it's been a challenge for their business to operate moving forward, because that's the only product that people want to buy, you know?
Absolutely. And I feel bad for those companies, Kevin, because, like that's where the money maker is right now. And, I have no problem with people selling D8 or the people that use it. It's totally fine. I mean, there's a lot of people that find medicinal
Right.
benefits from it, and I'm all for that, especially if the D8's made correctly. But that's the thing, is that when the state went and did that, they jeopardized a lot of businesses out there, like Bayou City Hemp is they're a great company, good friends of mine. They're great manufacturers, and they, in my opinion, were the number one manufacturer of D8 besides Sweet Cincy in the state. And when you go in and do something like that, you could dramatically affect people's businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I get it with the D8, but the people's businesses, and then employees get affected, then shops get affected. And it was a big roller coaster the last month. And I felt extremely bad for the industry because there wasn't really direction. But I do give props to the people that did fight for the injunction. There's a lot of important people and a few different lawsuits, and, Bayou City being one of them. And I was really impressed, with the diligence that they use, and they stuck with it. And it's not easy. And to me, that shows me that they're fighting for what they believe in. And there's some great people in Texas. So the landscape right now is being developed. And there's people like you who are on this level educating the people that don't know about hemp, D8, cannabis, what the difference is and what the state is in Texas. And to me, that's the most important part. So hats off to you, brother, because in my opinion, you're one of the best educators in the state. And I have been following you from day one, my friend.
Well, hey, I appreciate the kind words. That makes me feel good. And hey, it's all about education, right? And I think that the more
Absolutely.
of us that can just get together and just in a long form dialogue get this out, it's only going to benefit the industry. And I love that you called out some of those companies and those names, because I know those people personally as well. And they're great people, and it
They
does
are.
suck that the rug was pulled from under them so fast, without any warning, right, without any kind of procedures as to how to move forward next. And another one that comes to mind on my end is Shada Tarabi, who
Yeah,
is a co-owner of Restart CBD out in Austin, and she's got a really great podcast as well. To be
she's
blunt,
amazing.
yeah, and I remember, I think I saw like a local news segment that she went on, just like
Hmm.
saying just that, like, come on, this is killing us because it's happening so quick without any preparation.
Yeah,
Not to mention it's unlawful in a lot of ways, right? So,
it
um,
was.
yeah. It's interesting. So outside of D8, because I know that we hear about that and talk about that every day. Let's talk about the Texas hemp market overall. So like, what's the culture like? Why is it important to support Texas producers and Texas farmers in your view?
This is my favorite thing to talk about everywhere I go. So the hemp market, when I first stepped in, I noticed one thing. There was a lot of unquality smokable hemp. And when I would go into these shops, it would all look the same, smell the same, and it really had no value. And I noticed one thing. It was not grown in Texas. It was from Oregon. It was from California. It was from batches 3 years ago. And so for me, when it comes to the Texas, hemp scene, I feel that, I try to stress to everybody, it's extremely important to support Texas brands right now, especially the retail shops. The retail shops, the brick and mortars, they're the one who have control over those products. And for me, I feel that it'd be extremely important for us to kind of, pivot on, instead of bringing in a bunch of outside brands from other states, to really focus on what we're doing so that we could help make this industry thrive. I noticed that over this past year, a lot of farmers had great material, but they could never sell it because their competitor or the people they're trying to sell to is buying $100 pound from Oregon. That's absolutely horrible.
Dude, that was like my whole life for the first like 3 months when we were talking. I mean, I was trying to kind of act as a broker with my network, right? And
Yeah.
the prices were all over the place. Like I couldn't come to consensus with the buyer and the seller because they were both so way off.
Yeah, so don't quote me on these exact numbers, but I know that about 2 years ago, between Oregon and Colorado, they harvested over 50,000 acres of hemp. Okay, and that completely flooded the market. Well, all those farmers lost money on those crops. So it went from a combination of having about 50,000 acres the couple years ago to recently only being at about 15. So that's the thing, is I'm speaking to people in Oregon that are hemp brokers that actually have,
Air
companies that all
quotes.
they do. Yeah, exactly. They sell thousands of pounds of hemp a week, hands down. And they're telling me right now that there's a demand for smokable hemp that we have created throughout the nation throughout the last couple of years. But going into 2022, there is not that supply. And so it's kind of shifting from quantity to quality.
That's
And
good.
so
That's great.
exactly. And that's where we want to be, because quality has the more medicinal effects. It's got the better benefits. And at the end of the day, you're still smoking something. You don't want that brown stuff from another state. You want something that somebody inside of Texas who cares about the plant went about it the right way, because, not only is it a quality issue, but when you're supporting these Texas brands, you're going to give them the ability to expand their operation, to have better products, to have more quality products. But if we're not buying and supporting each other in Texas, and we're giving all that money to outside brands, then we're kind of in a standstill right now. So, the last year when I got into the industry, it was hard. It was extremely hard. We were not hitting sales like we thought we would right out the gate. We had to kind of find our niche. And so what we did was we started focusing on a quality product that could be at a great price, because what we've noticed in Texas is that there is phenomenal products out here and there's phenomenal producers. So no matter what area of the game, whether it's growing hemp, our edible line, or our health line, our tincture line, our sleep aid, we have to bring our A game. And so right now, that's kind of where I'm at with Texas and the scene. Is I'm just stressing to everybody, let's support Texas. Let's support these retailers that are actually pushing hemp brands like Restart CBD, like Sweet Sensi, like Tejas Hemp, Oak Cliff Cultivators, Drops of Life CBD, and Fresh Grown Texas. And for me, when we all start supporting each other, and we kind of saw that the last 6 months, we were able to put that money back into our operations. And now all of these companies in Texas are starting to gain traction, and they're actually starting to do big things in the state of Texas. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years.
That's awesome, man, and it's really encouraging. So to recap, so I'm clear. You're saying so in 2022, we're expecting that paradigm is going to shift of less volume of hemp plant that's sitting, and and more so, and that dilutes the price obviously to more so of like more in demand of high quality, high grown product, because the numbers of the hemp that was imported from Oregon or whatever state, it's lessened at this point, you're saying, right? It's basically
Absolutely. It's
okay.
1/3 of what it used to be. Colorado and Oregon are the number one producers of smokable hemp in the United States. And when they lost money off those crops, they didn't plant them again. They're still sitting on the end of that supply. And once it goes, some of them still grew, but majority of them just switched over to cannabis because of the price margins. You know, some of these farmers are selling their pounds from Oregon for $50. It takes you, it's takes a lot more to grow that pound. So they
That's
lost
so
money. So
crazy. They're
why would they
losing
do
their
it again?
ass at $50 a pound. I mean, that's so much work that goes into that, you know?
It is. It is. And because they flooded the market, they saw an opportunity, but then they flooded the market, and they flooded the market with stuff that was not quality. You know, I'm not ragging on Oregon. I'm not ragging on Colorado. I'm just saying that a lot of the smokable hemp that I saw stepping into the scene about a year ago, just that's where I saw the advantage, because I know amazing growers in New Mexico. And one of them goes by the name of Manny, and he
Shout
owns
out
Fresh
to
Grown.
Manny Ordaz of Fresh Grown. He's actually been on the podcast before. He was one of my first guests. When, like, I think he was episode 5. For
Yep,
those,
he needs to get back on.
he needs to get back on. I've been trying to get him on for the longest time. If you can talk him into it, tell him
He's
both.
so.
Yeah,
Oh,
both.
sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, or both of you could come on, but I'd love to talk with him again, man, because he is a master cultivator, and I have seen the flower that he's produced through your other company that you co-founded, which is Fresh Grown Texas. So talk to me a little bit
Yes.
about that.
Well, first and foremost, hats off to Manny. In my opinion, Manny's my favorite grower of all times. That guy is just unbelievable with what he's able to do with that cannabis plant. He is phenomenal, and he's extremely humble, which is why I love Manny. He can't take a compliment because he's like, oh, he just brushes it off, and he is one of the best growers in the world, hands
Yeah, he's
down.
dialed in. He is.
Look at what he's doing with DNA genetics and 707 grows. You know what I mean? He's making some major moves right now. And so I was very fortunate enough, to ask Manny, can we bring the Fresh Grown banner into Texas under your vision, your consulting? Because what we want to eventually do when it goes medicinal is bring that footprint right into Texas. And that's the biggest thing. And so I was extremely thankful to Manny for letting us represent that name, and we try to represent it proud. We have been growing inside of Texas. We have an indoor setup, and we're mentored by Manny, and we're mentored by High, and we're mentored by Orlando. And so we have all of the Albuquerque crew helping us with what we're doing right now. And we
That's
just had
awesome.
one of our first harvests, and it is phenomenal.
Wow.
It is phenomenal.
So it sounds like the Fresh Grown Texas brand is flower, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I advertise Drops of Life is a THC free brand. I want to be extremely I want to be extremely transparent throughout the United States. I want people who are afraid to try CBD because of THC be willing to try my product without having the stigma of the THC factor. So Drops of Life is a THC brand, and then I have Fresh Grown Texas, which we do all of our smokable hemp flower, and we will be releasing full spectrums and other things under that line that do have the legal amount of THC in them. We just kind of wanted to separate the difference between church and state. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Yeah. No,
It makes it a
that's
little bit easier with business. They're two different LLCs. So
they are. Yes. Yes, absolutely, man. And so, it's interesting too, because it sounds like with that model, you're pretty well positioned. Because I recently had um, Robert Beasley on from Fluent by Consortium.
I saw
And
that.
yeah, and so they're like one of the basically I think the provider when it comes to medical cannabis products here in Texas, which
Yes.
we've known in the past that the medical program within Texas is very limited. It's been expanded to serve other ailments now, other illnesses
Mm-hmm.
for patients. So like, what are your thoughts on, the future of the medical cannabis market in Texas, and how are you guys positioned to maybe kind of enter that space?
Well, 100%, when we started Drops of Life, getting into the CBD and hemp industry was also a way to start getting ready for the medical cannabis industry. I come from a medical cannabis background. I'm fortunate enough to be a part of the Elevated family. Orlando, Long, High, everybody a part of that crew. Manny has been very, very good when it's come to teaching me and making sure that I'm learning the right necessary steps to make it successful when it does come to Texas. And that's really what we're working on. When it comes to the state of medical marijuana coming to Texas, I do think we are a couple years out from that just because of political differences, but there will be people changing in office, and hopefully it does happen sooner than later. But what I saw this year when they extended the teacup, list for patients, that was amazing because that's how the Compassionate Use Act program in New Mexico really got started. It was very small, very limited, and then it started to grow. So I think as Texas would move forward and kind of focus, this whole D8 stuff, in my opinion, kind of made us look silly. You know what I mean? It made the state look like we didn't really know what we were doing. And I think if we start focusing on the patients and how cannabis helps them, and I think right now with the extension of the teacup list, the state will actually start to see that we could start to open the doors, because 100% we are coming to Texas and we are going to do cannabis. I mean, that's my background. That's what we know. Elevated's been successful for over a decade in what they've been doing. And so the goal is to get Drops of Life started, fresh grown Texas. And as soon as it goes medicinal, we will have the infrastructure in Texas to be seed to sell. We will grow our product, we will manufacture, we will produce, we will extract, we will be full circle in everything that we do. And that's a process. It's expensive, it takes time, and you have to have the right people involved so that you can do it right. And when Texas is ready, we definitely want to be, we don't want to be getting started when Texas is getting started. We want to hit the ground running the second they give us the green light, and we will be ready.
Yeah. I mean, you almost have to in this industry now. If you wait and you're not proactive in your planning because of what's inevitable, it's too late, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the capital that you have to raise, the hard work that's put into cultivating, and I mean, there's just so much. Yeah. So
There's so much.
it's insane. Yeah. And you brought up a really interesting point that I haven't really thought about specifically, but it's so apparent. And that is the Texas lawmakers that oppose cannabis. They're so ready to fight to ban it, but there's really no openness of understanding the efficacy on the medical benefits side, right? Like it's just kind
Yeah.
of blanketed as nope, bad, needs to be outlawed. And that's different that I see in the mindsets of other states, especially rather red states, And
Yeah.
so I hope, to your point earlier, that with new blood that comes into these offices, that mindset changes, And
No, absolutely. It's a lack of education. I mean, it's a lack of education and information.
right.
I'm sorry, man, but we're still scheduling cannabis as more addictive than cocaine and Xanax and Oxycontin. I mean, come on, guys, that's a joke. This is all political. Let's be real. I mean, I'm sorry, and this is the thing: is that Texas are the number one farmers in the world.
Yep.
If we do cannabis, I'm not trying to sound cocky, but we're going to do it better than anybody else just because the resources that we have in the state, most states maybe have two, maybe at the most, in California, three areas that you could really grow and thrive in the state, growing outdoors. Texas has 5 to 6. Okay. This is the thing. Our farmers are on a whole nother level. They always have been. And that's why we compete in worldwide markets. So for me, I'm like, Texas, get it together, because the money that we're going to make and the money you're going to tax from this industry is going to compete with oil industries, the gas industry. It's ridiculous the numbers that they were putting up. I read an article earlier today that said that Illinois has already surpassed $1 billion during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know,
So let me clarify something. So when you say this, because those are bold words, and I believe what you're saying in terms of how awesome the farmers are and the legacy that the farmers have in Texas. But when you say grow, do you mean for hemp or for cannabis? Because like someone from
For
California is
cannabis.
for cannabis.
Well, see, this is the thing. We need the education. We need to learn. And that's the thing is that there are a lot of great growers in Texas. Now, do we have the education that California, New Mexico, Colorado, and Oregon has? Absolutely not. But we have better resources than most of those states. We have better funding and better ways of doing things in the majority of these states. And that's where I think Texas will excel because you'll have these groups coming in from California, from Oregon. You know, the people that have the medical license right now in Texas, two of the companies are from Florida. You know, so they will bring this education. Once you bring that education and you combine it with our resources and our farmers, it's just going to be a recipe for success. And I'm very confident that we are going to be one of the major players once it starts getting going. It's just that's the big question. When's it going to start getting going? But the hemp industry is a right step in that direction. That's why I'm extremely honored to be a part of the Texas Hemp Coalition. Shout out to my crew. We are accepting memberships right now. And the reason being is because it's composed of a wonderful group of people like Shada from Restart. You know, we have Alyssa Nolan, who is like one of our forefront fighters in the
Yeah,
political party. She's amazing.
she's been on the podcast. I need to have her on again. She is sharp, man. She's really
She's awesome. She's
yeah
very sharp. And then you
yeah.
have Jeremy from Bayou City Hemp, who's the president. We're just composed of very predominant people in this industry, and I admire all of them. You know, we had one of our conference calls today, and it's just great to be a part of people that are really pushing this industry. You know, Bayou City Hemp was behind that huge lawsuit trying to get the injunction for D8. I think it fell through with hometown hero that actually got it. But these people are putting everything on the line to show Texas, hey, we're here to fight for this plant, and it's not just hemp; it's also for the future of cannabis. So that's what's really cool right now is that we do have some players in Texas, and the second they give us a green light, we're gonna go.
I love it, man. I can just feel the enthusiasm and the passion and just coming out, and I love it because that's exactly what the state needs. And I've made the analogy before of like California and New York. It's like King Kong and Godzilla.
Yep.
Uh, but with Texas coming into the scene, I mean,
We're
like
our own. We're our own monster,
they're
man.
your own monster. Like, yeah, I mean, we got to think of a crazy huge monster, but it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, right? And like
Absolutely.
what because of just how big the states are and the populations and but it's
Yeah, it's
great.
crazy.
Yeah. Jake, I want to give you the floor, man. Before we wrap up, is there anything that's top of mind that you want to leave the audience with?
Man, I just like I said, right now I think it's pivotal for education. And I really think that that's what's going to push everybody in the direction getting towards cannabis and also educating people on, hemp, educating the consumer on what it could do for you, the benefits, because, it's great. It's going to be a great commodity. Eventually, when it gets to cannabis, it's going to bring a lot of money to the state. But the whole reason why I'm in this industry is to help people because I believe wholeheartedly, 100% with my heart, that this is medicine. And if you use it as medicine, it has amazing benefits. So my goal right now, my ultimate goal in life is to get CBD into the hands of every person in this world that wants to try it. I have crazy dreams about going to countries that have never even heard of CBD, that live villages with kids that have epilepsy, and I'm going to bring gallons of that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's my mission, and it all starts with education. And so for me, I just want to, like I said, take my hat off to you and people that are pushing the forefront because it all has to work together. We have to have great producers. We have to have great business people. We have to have great retailers. But at the front of this battle, it has to be people educating. So I wanted to just say thank you for this platform, everything that you've done. I'm a huge fan, not just because we're friends, but because of all the education and all the light and positiveness you are bringing to this subject in the state of Texas. So for me, what you're doing is, in my opinion, one of the most important parts. And brother, anything I could do to help you be a part of that, you can count on me every time.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Jake. I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. And of course, I mean, anybody who is adding value to the industry and can educate others, I want to have them on. So as your business continues to evolve, Drops of Life CBD, Fresh Grown Texas, let's have you back on, man. And let's have the inner circle on as well. Tell hi, tell Orlando, tell Manny I said hello, what's up? And
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it's been great to have you on and to hear from your perspective. So
I appreciate it, man. I'm going to send you a box of our edibles because we were fortunate enough just to win the #1 edible in the state of Texas. Shout out to Sweet Senti for throwing an amazing event. It was a true blind taste test. So after this podcast, man, I'm going to get you a whole box of goodies. I'm going to get this sent out to you and let me know what we could do, man. But it was really good to spend time with you tonight, Kevin. I appreciate this.
awesome, man. Thank you for the edibles. I appreciate that. Where can people find y'all's website and social media if they want to learn more about Drops of Life and your amazing products?
So you could go to dropsoflifecbd.com. And if you type in friends 21, you're going to get a nice 15% discount from listening to this podcast. We're also on Facebook at Drops of Life CBD, and we're also on Instagram at Drops of Life CBD. If you have any questions, we love to reach out to our members. We love hearing from you. Please give us a shout out, or if you have any questions about the products. And first and foremost, thank you for being a customer and enjoying our products. So
Of course, man. Yeah, no, I love the edibles and I love that CBN. What is
sleep
it?
tincture.
The tincture. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's almost like a cough syrup, but it's not. It's like it's you mix it.
Oh, the agave syrup.
Syrup. Oh my God, that's my
It's
favorite. It's
it's
so
made out of
good.
100% agave, no corn syrup. I love that stuff. It coats your throat. It's amazing delivery system. And what's really cool is that you digest the agave a lot slower, so the CBD stays in your system a lot longer. That's just the thing. We're always in the lab trying to come up with different ideas, different techniques, and different delivery systems. So I'll definitely get over some of that syrup for you, my man.
Yeah, and agave, it's like that's not even like a common flavor, and it's awesome, dude. So I love how it's like
Thank you.
differentiated as well. Yeah, of
I appreciate that, Kevo.
course. All right, man. Well, we'll have you on again next time. Thanks again, and thank you all for listening. Bye.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys.